Hi everyone. Today's exercise is a very simple one that builds upon the exercise that we did last week on seeing value. Today's exercise is about seeing value as color, and I've already gotten started here on our exercise, and we are working on a replica of John Kensett's painting Eaton's Neck. And so last week's objective was to simply look at a painting, squint our eyes, or use our ruby beholder and see it instead of color, and see it in terms of a simple value plan, large masses that have value. And we're using our outdoor value scale, which has a 5-value system. And so we're squinting our eyes and we're pushing things, forcing and simplifying things and pushing them into these ranges. And so I'm starting with my sky here. So the objective of today's exercise is to very simply look at the John Kensett painting and squint your eyes, use your ruby beholder, your palette knife, mix color, and you're trying to match value for color. You're trying to see a color as value. In the sky here, you can see the color mixed up is approximately a value 4. Last week we had some debate when looking at some of the paintings, and we realized that it's probably a little bit lighter than a value 4. By using our ruby beholder here, we remove color from the equation and enable you just to see it as value. Now, if you can look at the sky and let your eye bounce from the sky over to value number 4, you can see that it's in the value 4 family, but it's on the lighter side. I might call it a 4.5, whatever. So that's our objective. And even if you don't get the color 1000% accurate, it's better to get the value accurate. I do have a video on color mixing, which there are some great tips on how to mix perfect color every time. So I'm starting with my sky here. I'm using some liquid as well. I pre-mixed all my colors, and in doing so, I again, to remind you, when I pre-mix my colors, I mix with a palette knife, and one of the reasons is to preserve my brushes. So if you mix with a palette knife, hold it up to your value scale, and again, the sky we did last week, we determined was a little bit darker, so I went a little bit lighter with this particular value. It's still in the value 4 family. And even with the ruby beholder, you can see that by removing color, it's closer to the value 4 family. And so that's where I begin. So this is a very simple exercise, and we can. I would like you to proceed from just one color to the next. One of the great advantages about this particular painting is that Kensett actually has made it very simple for us. He has taken what was probably a very complex scene and turned it into something simple by really just seeing 4 value ranges. This particular painting is an excellent teaching tool and an excellent seeing tool. Notice at the horizon, the value gets maybe half a value lighter, and there's a color temperature shift. You see that? So I'm going to put that in there. You don't have to. If you want, you can just sort of pre-mix a color for the sky, the water, the landmass, and the beach, and be done with it. But just for fun, I thought I'd show you the full range that you can go. It gets a little warmer at the horizon, and I think that's true most oftentimes in nature on clear days. If you're looking at the sky, you look at the zenith straight up, you'll see it's typically darker, more towards ultramarine blue. And as your gaze makes its way towards the horizon line, it tends to become more cerulean, and then you see warm notes on at the horizon line as light is bouncing into the earth, back into the atmosphere. In this case, it looks like a cool, warm color. Maybe in my case, I put in a little yellow ochre. But okay, I'm using a different brush for the next color. I'm just trying to keep it simple here and move right along for the sake of this demonstration. So again, pre-mixing a color for the water. Our water comes in, and again, you can hold your palette knife or your brush, whatever you're mixing with, and you can see that it's not quite a value 1. It's closer to a 2, and that's how I saw it. So, and if you want to test, you can hold it up to your black and white painting, and the value should disappear if you're matching the value right on. You see that? That value 2 should disappear. Whereas if I hold it up to a lighter value, it pops. There should be no pop if you've matched the value. Voila. We're not looking for perfection. Mix the value accurately, and if your color in terms of the temperature, if it could be a little warmer or cooler, it's all good. We'll get there. Baby steps, right? Make the best effort you can to match the color perfectly, but I will take value over color at this point. Value does all the work, color gets all the credit. And that does seem to be true. Same thing with this shoreline. As the water becomes shallow, the temperature changes. So this water is really, I think I mixed ultramarine blue and a little olive green, and maybe like a pinch of white. That's how I saw it. And as it gets closer to the shoreline, it's less of the blue and more of the olive green, and maybe a whole value lighter, actually. So I stop my color there, and I bring in this sort of olive green shoreline color. I'll keep it clean and pure. In other words, I won't connect this color to this one until I'm done painting the shoreline. And so just when I'm about to connect them, I'll bring them as close as I can. And just kind of weave one color into the next. Just so there's a little gradation. Okay. Honestly, it looks like I could even go a little bit lighter, but all right. And I will use a different brush for my my landmass. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pow, 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 pow. And you can compare those relationships with your Ruby Beholder, just looking at the sky and the water mass relationship. You must get the first 2 correct in order to get the third one correct. And this third one, which is the landmass, and I can put a little piece down there. And you can see I mixed this one on my brush. And if I hold that up to a 1, it's pretty close to a value 1. And I hold my my landmass color, which in this case is a little alizarin crimson and olive green. I hold it up to my value study of the same landmass, and it should disappear on the Ruby Beholder, and it does. Both olive green and alizarin crimson are both transparent colors. So these may take some coverage. You can see it's acting transparent. So remember, this is just a little study. We're not really making a painting, so You know, you don't have to get carried away with perfect rendering and all that. We're really, again, the objective is to see value as color. I also have a video that talks about color matching, and it's certainly helpful to do your color charts as well. Color charts on seeing value as color. Color charts that enable you to see value as color are a really good exercise because, well, for one, you realize that all your tubed paint has an inherent value right from the tube. Alizarin Crimson is a value 2 right from the tube. Cerulean Blue is a value 3. Cad Red is a value 5. Cad Orange is 6. Cad Yellow a value 7. You know, if we're using a split primary palette, a fairly small palette, you may have, you know, somewhere between 8 and 10 colors on your palette. And it's not a lot to memorize what the values are of your particular colors right from the tube. And knowledge is certainly power. Just think about that. If you knew the inherent value of all the colors on your palette, if you knew them right from the tube, knowledge is power, right? So you could look, for instance, if you were painting, say, a red barn on a sunny day, and half the barn was in sun, the other half was in light, or the parts you could see. Well, you could make an objective decision that, well, the part of the barn that's in shadow is a value 4, for instance, right? A value 4. I'm talking about a larger value scale. So on a value scale of 1 through 9, my studio value scale. All right, I'll tell you what, let's talk in terms of your outdoor value scale. If you're looking at a barn that's in shadow and light, and the shadow side was a value 2, well, you know that a Cad Red from the tube is a value 3, right, on our outdoor value scale. So you know you have to darken that Cad Red to make it work. Knowledge is power. At least you have a jumping off point, right? So all of these ideas, when you're trying to match color and value, the more you know about the colors on your palette, the inherent qualities of them, the more efficient it will make you as a painter. Okay, very good. And finally, our last color, we'll bang in that beach and call this one done, just for our purposes. It shouldn't take you very long from the time you start pre-mixing the color. And the color I pre-mixed, it's really just a white. It's a value 5, pretty much. It's certainly in the value 5 family. And I hold up to my gray. Mine looks a little bit lighter than I had in my black and white underpainting. It's almost the exact color of the canvas, isn't it? It's like a creamy white. I'm using an alkyd white today. It's a quick dry white, and I typically use it for exercises. I use it a lot these days, to be honest with you. Okay. Now I'm going to use the right brush for the right job. And this fat little round I'm using right now will not get that little tight spot at the end of the beach. So I'm going to use a smaller brush to get that. I'll take a breath. There we go. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Easy peasy. So, you know, don't spend a tremendous amount of time on this, but you know, just enough time so you're not quite making a painting, but you're you're doing a good job at sort of truly understanding the concept of this exercise, which is just to see color as value. Little seaweed on the beach, and voila, I think we're done with this. It's great fun. Yeah, no, it's tempting to just go ahead and and start painting it, right? But just take it just as far as you need to sort of get the lesson. Okay, so there you have it. Color as value. All right, good luck.